If someone told you that even literary and spiritual giants end up kneeling at the feet of doubt, would you believe it? It might seem a disconcerting truth, but C.S. Lewis's journey during uncertain times shows us just that. In this deep dive, we explore how dark moments can not only shatter our certainties, but also open doors to a renewed recognition of the spiritual nature and the beauty of creation. By questioning the presence of God, Lewis leaves us with a powerful lesson. We must be prepared to find meaning in the darkness. Do you want to know how he navigated the waves of psychological suffering and Christian doubt to discover vigor for an enchanted life? Surprisingly, the lessons you're about to discover are not only wise, but entirely applicable to the delicate fabric of your own faith journey. When we think of C.S. Lewis, many imagine a giant of Christian faith, a great apologist, but few are aware of the intimate and melancholic journey he took in A Grief Observed. This book, written in a moment of profound mourning for the death of his wife, reveals a vulnerable and authentic side, showing that even the pillars of theology, when faced with psychological suffering, find themselves in the same boat as all of us, humanly fragile. And so, with a pen in hand, Lewis begins to stitch his words as a means of channeling his pain, confronting the cruel human condition. The fragility of life that ticks insistently in our ears prompts questions about the presence of God in moments of Christian doubt, and Lewis, as if holding his breath in this abyssal dive into his own soul, finds himself stripped of the absolute certainties he once had in his apologetics. A psychological suffering that finds no antidote nor answers among theistic arguments. An echo of the problem of pain resounds in his thoughts, metamorphosing his perspectives. After all, who hasn't faced that insistent voice planning disillusionment and skepticism? Yet, there is still room for a spark. Still, amid this narrative of raw and sincere words, Lewis realized that doubt, this persistent visitor, only needed to be handled with the ability to renew one's outlook. Not with instant answers, but through a renewed attention to what life whispers. This renewal of attention, perhaps somewhat like Romans 1 suggests, isn't a passive act, but a sacred experience. It's this renewal that offered him a way to see the world and also death through lenses enchanted by an unspeakable divine beauty. Just as the Psalms declare under the divine majesty, he understands that doubt is a teacher, eager to lead us to a renewed and mutually knowledgeable relationship with God. After losing his beloved wife, C.S. Lewis found himself caught in a whirlwind of emotions in which A Grief Observed became his intimate diary. It is there, in the pages of his observed grief, that he meticulously traces each nuance of the pain that consumed him, exposing the human fragility before grief. By questioning whether a good God truly exists, Lewis invites us into his own inner turmoil, transitioning between genuine faith and the skepticism that this deeply buried psychological suffering evoked. Who would have thought that the giant apologist also danced the dance of uncertainty regarding God's sovereignty? Living daily with the problem of evil, Lewis stumbled among the stones of questions that made each day deeply troubled. Perhaps he expected absolute answers, as we all might, looking to the heavens for light. The affliction became publicly acknowledged by the challenge of renewing faith, clinging to the arms of a practical theology that quickly faded from his reach. The problem of pain gradually merged with his painful personal narrative. Initially, it wasn't the death of his wife that screamed so loudly, but rather the haunting echo of her absence. Yet, it is in that emotional abyss that Lewis slowly emerges, absorbing the need to find a renewed enchantment in life, an unanxious trust in God's presence. His testimony transforms into a life fraught with doubt, yes, but also as a minefield of opportunities to enter a congregational worship where we praise together the star for which he, too, yearned his most absolute certainties. Within this collective liturgy, we find a space that invites worship through the Psalms, where pressing oneself to see human fragility is not just an intrinsic act, but an indispensable introspection for a personal reconnection. This helps paint a more circular picture of true love for the divine. Though considered one of the greatest defenders of the faith in the 20th century, C.S. Lewis wasn't exempt from the internal turmoil that is doubt. Throughout the pages of A Grief Observed, it becomes clear that neither the most robust apologetics nor deep intellect offered him refuge from the suffering and uncertainty triggered by his wife's death. We are all touched by this shadow in one way or another, thickening the veil of uncertainty that subtly makes us question God's presence. Precisely in the fragility of human existence, where Christian doubt often finds solace. This internal battle, waged by Lewis with contours of fear and uncertainty, is an emblem of the complexity of the human condition. His journey reveals that confronting this fragility does not lie in the desire to eliminate doubt completely, but in practicing welcoming embraces. The counterpoint is important because it shows that Christian faith doesn't deny psychological suffering. Instead, it offers a path to acceptance. By practicing this way of looking, we're brought closer to Psalms 44, which echoes stories of uncertainty transforming into songs of hope and worship to God's sovereignty. At this point, Lewis realizes that simply trusting in the non-anxious presence of genuine faith is more powerful than any deliberate attempt to find definitive answers. Doubt, though persistent, becomes an invitation to introspection, thus building a new consciousness steeped in enchantment. This practice is as if we enter a reverent state of worship, similar to dipping our feet in sacred waters of collective worship. It is in this recognition of the continuous divine presence, even when words fail, that the beauty of creation is envisioned, and the path through doubt you feel at home in trying to understand the depth of his grief. Lewis discovers that more than theistic arguments and logical thoughts, what is truly necessary is a renewal in how he pays attention. It's not just about focusing or staying distracted from difficult circumstances, but about igniting a clearer and more conscious vision of God's presence in everyday life. This transformation of perspective is akin to having a clear visor through which the divine majesty that Psalms 19:1-6 sings about becomes truly perceptible, thus offering a new kind of sacred experience. This ability to renew attention prompts us to slow down, literally open our eyes to the glorious spectacle represented in life's simplicity. Lewis understood this in his own walks and contemplations, where each step in nature served as a prayer, in motion, easing the heart's burden and reminding him of the fragility and beauty of creation. Unlocking this practice is like rediscovering God's word in the very woods of life, where each leaf and smell holds deep meaning, divinely directed. As we immerse in this journey of renewed attention, life expands with a kind of spontaneous praise, transcending traditional congregational worship and turning sacraments into everyday experiences. A puddle on a path can then become symbolic, a mirror in which we look at ourselves and reflect on life, its fragility, and the hidden blessings at every corner. Lewis found this acting diligently as a tangible reminder that difficulty can indeed be a form of acceptance. Calm like the waters through which life previously denied begins to reflect a bright light. In moments of doubt and uncertainty, being a non-anxious presence in someone's life can make a monumental difference. Lewis teaches us that instead of yielding to the panic generated by fear, we can offer a resonant calm based on the trust established by God's sovereignty. Here, it's not about pretending to always have all the correct answers, but about walking with curiosity and humility alongside the other, offering emotional support. Recalling the scriptures can help reinforce this position, bringing forth comforting words that show alternative paths for reflection about life. This posture, while perhaps opposing the human impulse to quickly resolve doubts, opens space for active listening, a space where different perspectives come to the fore in conversation, nurturing the ability to read between the lines during periods of uncertainty. By suggesting a meeting in a neutral place, like a quiet cafe or lunchtime in a park, you can momentarily alleviate the bittersweet weight of despair. Conversations crafted with kindness, where doubt is respected by the impulse as a teacher, tend to transform dark pits into brilliantly clear opportunities. In the reflections of this non-anxious disposition, we notice the understanding that presence is more powerful than long-winded speeches, and true wisdom is to communicate the ineffable and inexplicable love that transcends words. This is a different perspective on how we can begin to walk together without the burden of immediate clarification, urgency, but rather with the gentleness of patience. Lewis, in his ceremonious eloquence, offers us this deeply meaningful example through his own words and vital experiences, revealing that sometimes the best way to move forward is just to walk alongside. Within the intricate fabric of life, moments of enchantment often appear in the most unexpected places. C.S. Lewis invites us to find connections with the sacred not only during grand experiences, but also in everyday simplicity. It is in small gestures and meaningful encounters, like a birth or a reflection on the fragility of life, that glimpses of spiritual enchantment manifest. These instances, while transient, force us to pause, reflecting the beauty of the present moment, and finally, abolishing the veils of skepticism. For Lewis, this sacred connection is emotionally palpable during elevated levels of intimacy with nature and in rituals that celebrate the spiritual world, whether surrendering to the enchantment of contemplative Bible reading or during a quiet shared walk with family. What is obtained is a sweet taste of eternity. Simple acts, like stargazing at night or watching the sunrise horizon, speak loudly to hearts as serene reminders that we are embedded in something greater than our understanding. Invoking the holy also stimulates a spiritual reset that resonates strongly in a congregational service, where collective worship sharpens our sensitivity to the sacral worship. In such a welcoming provided by the Church, worshippers, even in their solitary journeys, are invited to share the praise in communion, where God's presence becomes tangible in instituted songs and sacraments. This communal practice acts as a point of equilibrium and renewal to prolong the vision that life, even amid uncertainties and doubts, is still part of an experience imbued with deep meaning. In the frenzied rush of modern routine, walking together in nature can be a refreshing balm for the soul. C.S. Lewis, with his unwavering love for creation, guides us to see our walks not just as a physical activity, but as an opportunity to slow down and contemplate divine majesty. Every step on the moist forest soil, every breeze whistle among trees functions as unproclaimed hymns that, akin to Psalms 19:1-6, declare the glory of the Creator. This return to the pure beauty of creation invites quietness and an enchanted life full of intimate spiritual meaning. Curiously, every step through the green transforms into endless natural lessons. The way the leaves dance in the wind, birds in perfect acrobatic flight, urges us to fall in love again with God's meticulous craftsmanship. For example, the simple act of climbing a hill and observing the vastness of the panorama offers a new perspective, changing the breath captured in routine to sighs of enchantment and admiration. This detachment from pressures, along with the benevolence of walking while sharing thoughts, broadens visions and calms anxieties, strengthening the spirit walking through life's arena. Thus, submerged in these moments, we are reminded of life's fragility against the creation's beauty, absorbing God's word revealed by the surrounding nature. A morning walk in the company of friends can turn this concept into palpable reality, where the inner pressure dissipates with each pause for scenery admiration, leading us to a new relationship with the divine. Like prisoners freed from a doubt, captivity, resting if we may. In nature's serenity is a seductive invitation to find a renewed perception of our journey through divine love. Inviting someone to a congregational service can be one of the most powerful ways to help someone deal with spiritual uncertainties and doubts. To C.S. Lewis, the church wasn't just a building, but a hospital for sinners, a welcoming place where human fragility met God's sovereignty. Lewis believed in the transformative potential of community worship where, alongside the Psalms and God's Word, we can find a safe place to bring our questions and collectively seek solace and renewed hope. The act of gathering, sharing collective worship becomes an event where music and sacraments share a common spiritual life palette. As the psalmist reflected in Psalm 44, we can bring our tears, doubts, and prayers to God, knowing the congregation is a supporting community that helps strengthen faith. This scenario offers not only answers but the experience of being part of something greater, a vision encompassing each voice rising in praise. Just like those around us, we come to find a renewed connection with God, nurtured by those who surround us. Within this common worship package, we discover that enchanted life translates into practices blending daily magic and transformation, soft and full of meaning. The presence of fellow worshippers, whose theological and faith experiences offer a colorful palette through which we see rays of divine light painting our personal stories. Lewis understood that this welcoming not only places us in a broader context of faith and continuous struggle against doubts, but also creates a joint commitment to cultivate the Creator's beauty, promoting feelings of hope and energy aligned in a restful and transcendent collective faith orchestration. If someone told you that even literary and spiritual giants end up kneeling at the feet of doubt, would you believe it? It might seem a disconcerting truth, but C.S. Lewis's journey during uncertain times shows us just that. In this deep dive, we explore how dark moments can not only shatter our certainties, but also open doors to a renewed recognition of the spiritual nature and the beauty of creation. By questioning the presence of God, Lewis leaves us with a powerful lesson. We must be prepared to find meaning in the darkness. Do you want to know how he navigated the waves of psychological suffering and Christian doubt to discover vigor for an enchanted life? Surprisingly, the lessons you're about to discover are not only wise, but entirely applicable to the delicate fabric of your own faith journey. After diving into the lessons of C.S. Lewis, what will you do to apply this knowledge in your life? Consider the doubts that haunt your journey and reflect on how they can be transformed in your walk with God. Have you allowed yourself to be a non-anxious presence for someone in need? Perhaps a peaceful walk in nature or an invitation to a congregational service might be the first step towards this. How will you renew your faith and reconnect with the sacred in simple, everyday moments? Now is the time to act. Apply these strategies and see how your perspective can change, just like Lewis's vision. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue this layer of learning and inspiration in your spiritual journey. Your next discovery may be just a click away. Join us and let's explore further together.